This is Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and I have the pleasure to be joined by a champion who is going to be owed a big favor by one championship after October 13th. After beating Shinya Aoki for the lightweight title in May, he steps back into the one cage on just over 2 weeks' notice to fill Eddie Alvarez's vacant spot in the lightweight Grand Prix finals. His title is not on the line at the One Championship Century event, but his medal will be tested, and that man is the Warrior. Christian Lee. Christian, thank you for talking to me in the lead up to this very sudden bout you now have on one of the biggest events of the entire year.
Hey, no problem, Jason. It's always a pleasure talking.
So I had hoped to speak with you again after talking to you a few months back, following the win over Aoki, like I mentioned, but I did not expect it to happen this suddenly, as the world found out last week you would be stepping in for lightweight Grand Prix finalist Eddie Alvarez and face Saygid. His last name's probably too hard, so I'm just gonna say Dagi. You're gonna face Dagi. How did this all come together? And like, how long ago did you know that stepping in for Alvarez may be a possibility?
You know what? I had no idea about the possibility of this fight. Really, I wasn't even on a list of possible replacements. What
Wow.
happened is they offered me initially to fight on One Century,
Mm-hmm.
but I turned them down. I said, you know what, Angela's going to be fighting on this card, headlining it. I want to just focus 100% on her for this. So for the past few weeks, I've just been dedicating all my time towards getting Angela ready for her fight and giving her a good training camp. And then last week, my dad gets a call and they say Eddie Alvarez is injured. We need a replacement. Basically, they went down the list of all the top contenders in the lightweight division,
Mm-hmm.
and none of them could make it in time with visa issues, or
Okay.
they just weren't eligible to step up to the finals for the Grand Prix,
Okay.
because that's a spot that has to be earned.
Yeah.
And so basically, I was the last resort on their list. And if I didn't take it, the fight would be scrapped from the card.
Wow.
And, I, as a company man, I don't want to see that happen,
Right.
especially to such a great card, the biggest event in One Championship history. And so 4 hours later, I accepted.
Wow. Was there ever any hesitation from you or even your father or even Angela, who I know is a big in your corner street fight? Like, I don't know, this seems too short. I mean, you're the champion. You should not have to deal with this. Was there any hesitation at all, second thoughts, when it became serious that they wanted you to step in?
Well, the thing is, for me, I believe that as a champion, I should be ready to step up and fight anyone at any time. And
Right.
that's just the mindset I take into it. However, I did have to ask. I wanted to make sure that Angela was okay with me taking the fight. With me being a big part of her camp, I wanted to make sure it wouldn't cause any conflict.
Right.
And Angela will never ask me to turn a fight down. So she said she wanted me to take it. And from there, we sent in the word and accepted the fight.
Now, I would assume, based on you being able to take this fight on such short notice, you're the type of fighter that you're probably training year round. You're probably staying on diet or your nutrition plan year round. Is your cut super minimal, or is this fight possibly taking place like at a catch weight?
Um, the thing is, try to stay as fit as possible year
Mm-hmm.
round. And there's actually not a single day where I'm not in the gym training or teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I teach martial arts for a living,
Yeah.
so I go into the gym every day.
Yeah.
You have to, you have to stay in a certain shape.
Right.
And plus for me, I've just grown up doing martial arts my whole life. I'm used to jumping into tournaments on very short notice. And, it's never been a problem for me. I feel like it's just a mindset. If some people will look at the reward, they'll have a fight booked and then they'll start training for it.
Right.
For me, I like to put in the work first so that anytime the opportunity comes up, I'll be ready.
Now, how does this work in terms of, if you win, are you like the official lightweight Grand Prix champion after fighting just once? Where Dagi, if he wins, he'll have fought 3 times. Are you not? Are you okay? How do you feel about that? If does that sit with you well? If you are given that title after just jumping, like, how does this all work out? Are you the Grand Prix champion if you win?
So yes, this fight will be for the one lightweight Grand Prix champion,
Okay.
and if you win, the winner will receive actually a different belt entirely. It's
Yeah, I
gonna
saw it
be.
yesterday.
You thought, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good looking belt.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm okay with it personally, because the thing is, Dagi has legitimately worked his way up to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone else in the Grand Prix has gotten injured, and someone else has stepped in to replace him. Even Eddie Alvarez was a replacement for someone that got injured. So really, Dagi's the only one that's worked his way up to the top. Now, I haven't been in the Grand Prix, but I am the champion.
Mm-hmm.
And the winner of the Grand Prix is set to earn the right to face the champion. I'm just doing the promotion and doing Dagi a favor by giving everyone that fight first.
Now, is there an understanding on the flip side of things? I know you're going to assume you're going to win this fight. If Dagi does win, is there an assumption he will automatically then get a rematch against you for your title?
Yeah. So if Dagi wins the Grand Prix,
yeah,
then he will face me because I'm the champion.
Yeah.
However, if I beat Dagi, then there's going to be no title shot, of course, because I'll be the Grand Prix champion and also the champion.
Does that change schedule plans? Because I'm guessing, I mean, maybe you could tell me or not, was there a general idea of when you may defend your title? Does that change plans if you beat the guy that's first in line, it seems like, in Dagi at this event? Is there kind of leave you in a loop where you're kind of without an opponent for a while? Or do you feel like, because Eddie Alvarez would have been in the finals, or certain other guys, that you're fine in terms of getting another opponent after the fact if you do beat Dagi next week?
Well, the thing is, right now, I believe that Dagi is the number one contender in the lightweight division.
Right.
So, of course, if I beat him, we'll be left without a contender. But I feel that if Eddie Alvarez, comes back from his recovery, then possibly a fight with Timofey, who hasn't really lost in the Grand Prix, who was picked up by an injury. That could be a good fight. There's a list of top contenders that could be up next, but I do feel like each of them would have to have a big win first before a title shot.
Is there any preference? Is there an interest on a competitive level? Is it Nastyukhin because he beat Eddie Alvarez? He was seemed like a guy that's on fire for the last couple of years. So is it Eddie because he's a big fight? He's a legend. Is there any preference, or as the champion you'll face whoever they give you?
As the champion, I'm ready to fight anyone. And the lightweight division around the world is probably the most stacked division out there.
Yep.
And so I have no preference. They're all killers. They're all hungry, and they all want to take my spot. So anyone who wants to come.
You are getting a little over 2 weeks to prepare for this fight, something unheard of for champion, even though the belt is not on the line. But, the whole situation is unusual anyway. So how are you feeling about that amount of time for such a difficult opponent? I mean, this guy's, really legit. Would you have preferred at least a month? Or like you said, you're a teacher year-round, you're in good shape. Do you feel you're good enough? You're fine with 2 weeks' notice? I mean, tell me. Let me know. If you'd rather have 2 weeks, please be honest with me.
You know what? For me, I really believe that as a martial artist, you are not the best in the world if you need 6 week notice to be the best in the world.
All right. Okay.
So, for me, 2 weeks is more than enough time. And the main thing is just getting my mind sharp. If the mind is there, the body will follow.
Interesting. Very, very poetic. I like that. I like that. Now, I recently had a long talk with Michael Schiavello about Alvarez versus Dagi. And then he really praised Dagi a lot. And he made me very scared of him. He should change his name from Dagi to like the Baba Yaga from John Wick, the way Michael Schiavello talked about this guy. Now, you have fought some talented fighters in Martin Nguyen, Shinya Aoki. Is he the best fighter you have faced yet? Or if not the best fighter on an overall talent level, is he one of the more dangerous fighters because of the serious punching power and finishing ability he does have?
I definitely feel like Dagi is a dangerous opponent. However, I've been tested many times in my career, and I've faced many talented fighters. I don't feel like Dagi is going to be the best opponent I faced, but I do feel like he could be the most dangerous. He's young, he's hungry, and he's finished every single one of his opponents. So I know that when we get into that cage, he's going to be looking to finish me quick, and I don't see this fight going to the judges.
Now, he has been a wrecking ball pretty much throughout his entire career, and a lot of it has been a one championship. He really has made very little, he's met very little resistance so far. When talking also with Michael, he felt Eddie had to play things very strategically. He thought Eddie needed to drag the fight into the second round to the third round, and as he put it, he didn't want to see the underground king. He wanted to see the strategy king. Is the thinking the same for you and your team now looking at this fight 2 weeks out? Do you feel testing Dagi's cardio is at least one route to victory and finding a weakness in his game?
I feel like with anyone who starts fast and finishes fights fast, people are going to be looking to take them into deep waters.
Right.
But the reality is, when you're at the highest level of the sport, you can go hard for 5 minutes, 3 rounds, 5 rounds if you need to. So I don't think it's really about dragging anyone into deep waters. I feel like for this fight, it's just going to be about me playing my game and imposing my will on my opponent, Dagi.
Now, another facet of things is, of course, everyone knows about the grappling you and your sister have. However, you have won a lot of your fights in terms of your striking. Is there another facet of it that maybe on a curiosity level, without giving away strategy, you are curious to test him on the ground, something that we haven't seen too much of because his fights end so quickly? Is that part of it? Testing the grappling, maybe testing the cardio, or are you like, I feel my striking is world class. I'm the champion. If he wants to strike with me, let's do it.
Well, I think the thing that makes this fight so exciting is that even though Dagi is winning a lot of his fights by knockout,
right,
he's got very strong wrestling, and he's got a jiu-jitsu black belt as well.
True.
So really, he can fight in every range. I can fight in every range. And so you're going to see a true mixed martial arts contest.
Saying that, do you feel like now that this card it has been officially added, is it the fight maybe, if people aren't giving it enough notice, it really is on paper maybe one of the best fights, at least if not on that card, both cards? Or do you not want to say it's better than your sister because you are like the nicest guy in the world?
No, man, I'm looking forward to my sister's fight, number one. But definitely it's the second most exciting fight on that card.
Now, perfect transition. Your sister, like I mentioned, Angela, is in a big fight on the same card as you in the main event on part 1 of this part 2 doubleheader. This is an important fight for her as she defends her title for the first time in a year against the person that gave her first loss. She's trying to avoid 3 straight losses. What are your thoughts on that rematch? And has she had a greater intensity going into this fight because there has to be a lot more pressure on her now with everything? Though I will say, the first fight, she was winning the first fight. It took a crazy 5th round from Zhang to even beat her.
Yeah, definitely. This fight is the biggest fight of Angela's career, and I've never seen Angela train so hard for a fight.
Interesting.
She's more prepared than ever. She's put in more hours in the gym, more sparring rounds, more miles on the treadmill, and she is very prepared for this match. I'm very confident in her.
I actually talked to Angela not long after our discussion a few months back, right before the Nicolini fight, and I tried to press her on something she might dislike about you, being your sister and all, because you seem too perfect, you're just like the nicest guy in the world, and all she did was add further proof and corroborate that you are the nicest guy, and she admitted she was just a mean older sister at times. So now I let you flip the tables and tell me about how Angela was an unstoppable and mean older sister when you were kids. Please give me an interesting story to make Angela, who also seems perfect, seem terrible.
No, man. Angela, she's an amazing person. Really. It's funny, though. Us as children, growing up in a martial arts family, training every day, sometimes there was just 2 of us on the mats. It would be me and her training. Obviously, her is the big sister, 2 years older. Yep. Angela was a killer, So I did not stand a chance. She would smash me every single day. But growing up, training with each other, being friends every single day, we are just so close now. You'll never see us arguing. We're just always in each other's corners, and it's a great relationship that I don't think you'll find between many brothers and sisters.
Are there other brothers and sisters that are jealous by you guys? Like, how do you guys like each other so much? I can't stand my sister. I can't stand my brother. Is there jealousy out there for you?
No, not for me, not for her. It's just, we're both just happy for each other with where we're at in our lives, in our careers. And when when you're just focused on only the positive things in life, it's very hard to let things bring you down.
Now, I didn't get to ask you the last time we talked because I hadn't started the tradition yet, but every interview now I like to ask the fighter, what are some of their personal interests? So maybe people watching can learn something they didn't know. And I'm talking about, like, of course, I know fighting and training and teaching consumes a large part of your life, but, like, what are some of the things you like to do that just has nothing to do with fighting? Like, I've gotten some interesting answers. I've gotten, Ong Lan Song gave me cooking. He loves making curry, as he put it, meat and carbs. Martin Nguyen likes to motorcycle ride. I've gotten comic books. I've got a ton of people who love video games. I've gotten origami, knitting. What does the warrior, the champ, the possible next Grand Prix champ, what does he like to do that has nothing to do with fighting?
Nothing to do with fighting. Sleeping all day. That's my Sundays, man.
Yeah.
But I love cooking.
Really? Okay, if someone's coming over and you were trying to impress, what is your go-to meal?
Oh, man. What I make my fiance on date night is I just make cook up a steak and like a mushroom risotto.
Oh, nice. Nice. The chef and the champ. It doesn't get any better. The jealousy of how perfect you are shall continue.